All right, thank you everybody for joining us today. Thank you to my panelists. A really great turnout so far. It's always fun to come to Miami, even if it's a little overcast or rainy. But yeah, let's get started here. A great panel and lots of interesting things to talk about with regards to real estate and tech and disruption. And that's obviously a big buzzword throughout the tech industry, but I do think it actually really applies to real estate these days. So let's get started by talking about, I think it would be helpful for the audience to learn a little bit from each of you about what technologies your companies are working on and how you feel like that is changing the industry. So we can get started just going here with you.
Yeah, so WellcomeMat is the leading video platform in real estate. And so one area where AI and machine learning has been extremely effective is with sort of image recognition. Typically, the most success that's being had in that category of technology has been video or image-based. And so a lot of what we are doing is in that vein. For example, automatically inserting chapters into videos such as master bedroom, kitchen, backyard. What can be done with that content once you've done that, such as pull as many photos as you want from the master bedroom of a video. And so there's a ton of stuff that we're doing in that category in terms of like the newest and greatest.
Awesome. And go ahead, and then John, if you want to continue.
I know Christian well, actually. We integrate his platform, so good video platform.
There you go,
Booj.
some collaboration.
Yeah, exactly. So Booj, what do we stand for? We stand for Be Original or Jealous. So we have some fun with our name. We built a tech platform that covers the gamut. You name it, from really a big broker solution, but then empowering the broker to be able to really license technology down to their agents. So agent websites, CRM, back office tools, mobile apps, mobile productivity tools, like you name it, we really built an ecosystem. Lead management, we power probably right now currently about 30,000 agents. We're actually expanding quite a bit because we were recently acquired last year by Remax. So now we're building out the Remax platform. So that growth is going to really just grow significantly over the next 2 to 3 years. But we're very, very focused on building an end-to-end solution and really adding value through that entire chain. We love agents. So I would tell that going back to what Leo said earlier about how agents need to be the local expert. What we try to do is really get agents to understand how to use technology, the best way to implement technology, and how to win the day with technology. So we spend a lot of time working with brokers and with agents all around the country.
Awesome, great. Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, I'm Ben Pleat from Doorbell Communities. We are a real estate technology and services company based in Boston. We're actually the country's leading resident experience platform. We power about 3,300 apartments with our software, and what we do is work with really large apartment building owners, think 2, 3, 4, 500 units, to power better bottom line results through sticky communities. So we create very, very true communities by leveraging our software, our experiences, so our events, as well as our data. And kind of tangibly what that means for a renter in one of our apartment buildings is you have access to 3 to 4 free experiences per month. Think of them as hot sauce tastings, think of them as local brew tastings, think of them as learn how to make dumplings.
A lot of food-oriented themes. I'm
probably hungry for dinner.
All right, good.
So
yeah.
Really kind of collaborative opportunities for residents to meet their neighbors. And what we've shown through our platform is that actually is able to power better bottom line NOI results through retention, differentiation, as well as referrals. So our customers are people like JP Morgan, or kind of large owners that have a very long kind of timeline on these large multifamily buildings. So to answer your question of how we think we're changing the industry, we're in the multifamily industry. We think we're kind of redefining what it means to live in an apartment building. And well, first off, we want it to be very community-based. We want it actually to be your home, first off. And second off, we really want to redefine what that experience looks like. So rather than just kind of investing in hardscape and large amenity spaces, and we've all seen the rooftop pools and whatnot, we're really kind of big proponents of activating and truly bringing energy to these spaces and reasons for using these spaces. So yeah, that's what our platform does.
Cool, excellent. And then yes, last but not least, we can turn to you, Michael.
Yes, my name is Michael Gerrity. I'm founder and CEO of a company called Global Listings, globallistings.com. But actually, I'm a little bit contrarian here today because while we use technology, we're actually focused on more different business models. Because quite frankly, it's a lot of times the companies that develop different business models are the ones that are big winners. For example, Jeff Bezos didn't invent e-commerce, he invented a better experience. Facebook, things like that. So we're not inventing new technologies, we're applying them. In this case of Global Listings, this is a spin-out from a prior company I started 8 years ago in Miami called the World Property Journal, which is the largest international real estate news site in the world. So this was a classified ad platform that spun out of it. We moved to California, opened up an office and built Global Listings. Without doing anything, we went from basically 0 to 2.1 million property uploads per month from 126 different countries and accelerating. It's an open platform. We love realtors who use it, home builders, developers, but people don't realize this outside the United States. A lot of the world outside the United States does not have real estate licensing laws or MLSs. So here was an opportunity we saw as I've traveled 24 countries in the last 5 years, China, Japan, Latin America, Europe, and I realized there is a need for a consolidated marketplace that's highly fragmented, disjointed, and archaic. So that's what this Global Listings platform is doing, is creating a consolidated marketplace. We're agnostic. If you're a realtor, use it. We want you to make money on it. Open you up into a larger international marketplace. If you're a home builder, developer, or owner. So we are multi-category, residential, commercial, vacation properties, sale, rent, or auction. And we're launching the new version of the site, because right now the beta site is up now, but we're launching the brand new site next Friday. So come check it out, download the app, everything else. Be a big press announcement on that as well nationwide. But that's what we do, and it's under my company called Gerrity Capital, my own private venture capital firm here in Miami.
Well, thank you. This is a great starter, and yeah, already we're making some news, breaking some news here with the announcement of globallistings.com and its full-featured site coming next week. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about I think you put it very well when you said that it's not necessarily the technology that's a disruptor, but the business model. So when you all four of you are looking at the industry and looking at how your companies can compete in an era when there are, of course, lots of startups, lots of venture capital moving into the space of real estate these days. So what particular technologies or trends or business models are you seeing as having the biggest effect on, let's concentrate it here, on residential real estate going forward?
When you look at, everybody's talking AI these days, artificial intelligence, and I definitely believe in the future that's where it's going to be. But right now, we still have a strong foundation to build. When you look at how disjointed, I think Leo said it best on the last panel. We just got to get focused in this industry of delivering a seamless experience, right? Something where the consumer can come on and just really have an amazing experience. And so, our goal when we're looking at this is you just got to deliver, what other industries outside of real estate have done, an end-to-end experience that can really add value through the entire transaction. And that's always been a goal of ours. And that's for the consumer side, but then for the agents, giving the agents a suite of tools that the agents can come on and just really get value from those tools, right? So a website, a mobile app, everything that goes along, integrated CRM, everything on the go, so that they can empower them to make better business decisions as they move and how they can digest that data and then really do something with it. I think then, once you have a strong foundation built, artificial intelligence is coming, different things, blockchain will be down the road. There's going to be other things that come in. But trying to put that technology in too quick when you don't have a good foundation to stand on is, I think, a recipe for disaster.
Got it.
Yeah, I think I would completely agree with everything you just said. I think we see a real estate landscape, especially on the technology side, that is very just disjointed. One of the first things we did here at Doorbell Communities was build out our API. We want to be an open socket. We want you to integrate with us. We will integrate with anything under the sun that makes sense to integrate with, especially in the industry. So think of it as property management software. Think of it as platforms like Booj, et cetera. So I think it really is upon the industry to make that the standard rather than the exception. I think, as technology companies here, we can only do so much. We can build out APIs. We can build out partnerships across companies. But I think it has to be an industry standard really first for that to become, I think, commonplace. I think, you kind of touched on it earlier. I really do think blockchain will fundamentally shift how ownership and rentership is really transacted. I think it will not come in the form of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies that I know everyone's afraid of, and frankly, I think I am too. I think it really will be the baseline technology that blockchain is, and I think we're already seeing it in the rental industry with smart contracts, et cetera, and it's something we're closely looking at. We think it's exciting. We think it's very much in its really early innings, if not the first inning. Maybe the game hasn't even started. We do think it will fundamentally shift things like rentership, ownership, title insurance, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know you and I were talking about blockchain and cryptocurrencies
I think blockchain
before.
is one of those things that will fundamentally change real estate in the coming years. There's a lot of hype around it. There's also a lot of potential about it. But let me back up for a second. Your question was, how do you think technology can impact the real estate industry? Well, let's dissect that for a second. What are the problems with the real estate industry on a U.S. or global basis? It's fragmented, it's disjointed, it's high cost of transaction, transaction friction, fraud. So we look at the real estate industry in a very interesting way. We look at real estate today like the global shipping industry 70 years ago. Google a guy named Malcolm McLean. He had more impact in your life than Steve Jobs and Jeff Bezos combined, because he invented 70 years ago a thing called the TEU, the Standardized Shipping Container. Before that came along, shipping was very expensive, a lot of fraud. People loaded up crates and nets into ships. Took a week to upload, a week to download. It was $5.50 per ton loaded. But when he patented and created the world's first containerized ship, he reduced friction across ports, trains, trucks. You could pack something here, put it on a truck, put it on a train, put it on a crane, ship the other side, and unload. He created a seamless marketplace on a global scale. 10 years later, global commerce exploded 500%. Fraud went from 19% of tonnage shipped to 1% of fraud. Cost per ton loaded was $5.75, went down to 19 cents. And he gave birth today to what is called globalization. So real estate is like that size marketplace. It's the largest GDP economy in the world. $12.5 trillion a year in deals get done, buying, selling, financing, investing in real estate. And if you can figure out a way to create a standardized, seamless platform using technology to do both intra-market, local, as well as intra-market transactions, because there's an explosion of cross-border transactions, as Miami well knows, you'll conquer a lot of things. So anything going towards reducing friction, cost, and transparency issues is the way to go in technology over the next 10 years.
And you think blockchain is going to...
Well, absolutely. I think blockchain, for example, in title services, because most of the world outside the United States does not record property at the local county records. There's a lot of fraud and a lot of issues with that. But if you create a blockchain title platform that gets adopted by the local sovereign governments, that authenticates the property ownership once in the blockchain, they're going forward. It's now, you can't defraud it because it's part of the blockchain every time going forward. Global title is a big thing. So I think that there's a huge opportunity for that. Now, on the other side, Bitcoin, some of these cryptocurrencies, I think is lunacy to be buying and selling homes with that. It's so volatile. Real estate's a stable asset. If you can understand financial markets, I come from Wall Street kind of background. A stable housing market, or real estate's a fairly stable, slow-moving asset. Bitcoin's a whipsaw. So why would I want to accept a volatile currency when I'm going to closing that by the time I go to closing, get Bitcoin sent to me, by the time I open my digital wallet and download it, Bitcoin has dropped 3% in the last hour.
Yeah.
I lost 3% of $1 million home value, $30,000 in an hour because of the whipsaw of the currency. It's crazy. If you made $100,000, $1 million in Bitcoin, cash it out, go to a bank, wire me funds, because I want real cash when I'm trying to sell a house. So there's a lot of hype around Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies when it comes to buying and selling properties. But the underlying technology of blockchain, especially for digital title service and things like that, huge opportunity.
Wow, this is great. Yeah, go ahead, Christian.
The thing that I find most promising about blockchain really is people taking their personal identities back. Mm-hmm. By leaving that void in the web, right? We basically got it filled by Google and Facebook.
Yeah.
And so the real promise, the thing that I'm most excited about as far as blockchain goes, is the idea that you can have all of your data centralized to your identity and release it at will and take it back at will. Mm-hmm. You're not relying on some private company or now public company to basically manage your online profile. You're basically able to take anything you want back from any company that's misusing your information and do it from a central location. And so that to a real estate transaction is going to be pretty amazing as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I think the points that you've all raised are very good. And my question to you is, to all four of you, is, you're all trying to start or have started successful new enterprises and businesses, and they're at various stages of their growth. But right now, as I mentioned, we are seeing a huge amount of venture capital, a huge amount of startups in the space. So are we going towards the real estate? Is the real estate space going towards where the internet went, where we have a Google and Facebook of real estate? Is Zillow that? Or are we, is it going to be small startups forever? Or are we headed towards a winner-take-all scenario of real estate tech, where there's going to be a Zillow that is the Facebook, or maybe Facebook itself, or Amazon? Or can we have this blossoming of all these real estate tech startups forever? What do you guys think?
I can start us off here. I think absolutely. I think it's such a large asset class and such a large industry that there is so much opportunity for different kind of pockets of that industry. In the multifamily space, just to give some context, the largest multifamily owner in the country owns probably 300,000, if not a little bit less than that. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that is not even 1% of the market. So I think to say that one platform on the multifamily side or on the commercial side, you name it, can cannibalize. I mean, look at WeWork, right? You've got phenomenal competitors like Industrious and WorkBar, and I'm sure there are 20 others I'm forgetting about, and there's great market share for a bunch of them. No one's running out of business because WeWork has 5 locations in your city. There's a lot of demand for real estate. People always need to live somewhere. People always need to work somewhere. People may not need to shop somewhere, but it's controversial, I guess. So absolutely, I think there is so much more opportunity. I think we're, again, very, very early in the real estate tech renaissance, if you will.
Yeah, the one thing I would say, though, is the landscape is definitely changing. Like you were saying, in 2008, the amount of VC funding that's coming in compared to today. And what's really happened, and what I've seen a lot from my space, is the big boys have woken up, right? They understand the value of what the technology is going to bring. We've heard about what Keller Williams and some of the touts that they've made, Compass coming into the market, Redfin going IPO, and they're putting that money into technology. So, the landscape of how we view platforms over the next 3 to 5 years is going to change considerably. Real estate and I think some of these big platforms, with the amount of capital that's out there, are going to be, looking to probably consolidate some of these startups and build them into their overall value chain. And then what does that look like for the space? Because everybody wants to build a seamless system that really integrates and adds value through the entire process. And so I think that you have kind of an arms race of folks out there that are saying, we want to do this, and this is how we're going to approach it. And they're going to use it as a way to be able to recruit and to be able to bring agents and to attract agents to the game. So it's a little bit different than just going out and sometimes acquiring the technology off the shelf, as much as people looking to build the technology from the ground up.
Sure, or acquire those people who are talented enough to build that technology in the first place.
You look at Leo. One last thing I'd say: look at Leo on this last panel. I mean, he was he lived it, breathed it, and then went out and built it, and he had all that industry knowledge inside. So that was a great story, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think going forward, though, this Harvard Business 101, every major macro market, there's usually 2 or 3 dominant players, 4 or 5 sub-players, and everybody else is a rounding error. Coke, Pepsi, Disney, Universal, McDonald's, Burger King. And in the key of real estate, every technology company here, real estate company here, has one common problem: rising customer acquisition cost. As more and more people enter the space, doing things, everybody's saying, look at me, no, look at me, look at me. Everybody's spending themselves to death to get you to go to my site over his site. So this is a nuclear arms race of customer acquisition costs rising for everybody. So the guys that are going to win that game are going to be the real dominant players. And in the space of customer acquisition in real estate, you're going to see in the coming years Facebook and Amazon enter this industry in a big way. They're going to make Zillow look like a little sparrow. $6 billion market cap versus a $600 billion market cap company with 600 million prime members. So with that being said, I think that what's going to happen is you're going to have these big platforms like Googles or the Facebooks and Amazons dominate a lot of that traffic. And then from there, you're going to plug into their traffic and pay them a fee to get traffic to you. And then there's going to be a series of 5 or 6 or 7 mid-tier players, and everybody else is a rounding error.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, the future of this. Like every other market evolves over time. There's usually 2 or 3 big players, 7 or 8 small players, and rounding errors after that.
Mm-hmm.
I would really quickly, I would agree with your comment about Amazon and Apple and Google. I mean, one could argue Amazon's already done that with Whole Foods. I would disagree from the sense of kind of ownership overall. I don't know if it's even possible for one company to own 20% of the market. I mean, you look at
I'll talk about audience.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I think on the Zillow side, absolutely. But I think on the ownership and development side, if you're developing a 30-unit building, that's a rounding error.
Yeah, I'm not talking about property development. I'm talking about traffic acquisition.
Right.
Eyeballs, that's all.
But even if it was property development, I mean, if you think about, because I definitely agree that technology was this thing that the industry was so scared of technology, it was like a giant in the woods that they hadn't seen before, right? What is game changing is the model, the finance models, right? And I do think that yes, technology is an accelerator, right? Like getting on the escalator at the airport. But I do totally think that the real innovation and the real dominant positions are going to be taken from a financial perspective, financial innovation.
I could not agree more.
Yeah,
I think that's one of the biggest impediments to the real estate industry is really how CapEx and how recurring expenditures are seen. And listen, software companies and technology companies need to live, I mean, most of them at least, need to live by SaaS subscriptions. And that's really uniform across the entire spectrum. And I think for expenditures that are recurring to be seen as less tax favorable than a $4 million bullet payment up front, I think that's a huge problem. I think you mentioned new technology coming. I think co-working and co-living. Obviously, co-living is very early in its infancy. I think they really will challenge the real estate finance perspective on how an apartment building or how an office building or how a mixed-use retail development looks. And I think that's really going to hopefully be pushed into the future through the finance industry as well.
So I think I'm hearing from everybody that we are probably headed towards an era where there are some more acquisitions by bigger players, but regardless of what happens with all that, do you all envision that the real estate, the makeup of the labor force in real estate, whether that's agents or brokers or even the tech providers, is it going to shift towards more tech workers, tech workforce? Because that's, the overall economy is kind of shifting in that direction, but we still, right now, we still have truck drivers, we still have service people, and so, for my audience at Inman, a lot of, I think people are worried about the real estate industry being able to support some more so-called traditional roles. And can it continue to support as many real estate agents as there have been in the past? Can it continue to support as many brokers as there have been in the past? Or are people going to need to come into real estate with a tech background?
I'll tackle that. I think that there is going to be, the NAR statistics show that the number of agents have hit an all-time high, right? And I think that over time you will see that consolidate. I think we have the fortune of working with a lot of great independent brands and owned by one of the, owned by the largest franchise. And what we see is that, really good, high-producing agents that add a lot of value, like Leo said, that really go deep, they're not going to be displaced. They're going to continue. Technology will not displace somebody who really is a true local expert and gets it and understands it and adds value, like to Leo's point before. But if you're a part-time person trying to make it in this space and you're not going to go full-time and you're not going to go all in, you will be, if all you're saying is showing people and open up doors, you're going to be displaced. That's going to happen. And so I think the part-timers and that era is going to go away. I think you're going to see the rise of really good financial experts in this space that truly help people. And I think it's good for the entire space. And I think that along with that, really good, solid technology that supports them is the key to the future.
Actually, I think that, quite frankly, there's been a lot of talk about, displacing realtors. I think they provide a great quality service to a lot of people and protect a lot of people from financial mistakes and legal mistakes. But I also know that, for example, I read a story from Bloomberg about a year ago that in the next 10 years, AI and artificial intelligence and big data and everything else will displace up to 50% of all professional services jobs in the United States. If you're a lawyer, a doctor, a pharmacist, a lender, a broker, a builder, a financial planner, everybody's at risk of this thing. So it's not just the realtors. So there is going to be a wholesale shift. There's also a great report, which you should Google. It's called the NAR Danger Report. It's a great read. NAR, the National Association of Realtors, paid a well-written dossier by a consulting firm about how technology is going to impact real estate in the next 5-10 years and how to best prepare for it as an agent. So I think what you're going to see with technology is more market segmentation, where you're going to have, in my personal opinion, there's going to be segments of the market that are always going to want to be concierge services, hand-holding, and security. Wealthy people like to have stuff done for them. Wealthy, high-end audiences, high-end buyers are going to want realtors. I think that first-time buyers, so they don't make mistakes, should have realtors as well. But I think, and also older people that are scared of being taken would probably want to have their hand held. But I think it's become more of a menu-wise service. I'll be willing to pay an extra 3% over a base transaction for that service. But I think the mid bracket of transactions, if I bought and sold 1 or 2, 3 homes already, I would probably use a discount broker or go out on my own because I could save a significant amount of commission. But I think it's going to be more market segmentation. But I think there's certainly realtors aren't going to go away anytime in the next decade. But there's going to be a hollowing out of the middle class, if you will. It's going to be either high end or low end. But I think the middle section is going to be the one that's the most at risk for the agent industry.
Sounds like our economy as a whole.
Yeah.
The middle's getting destroyed.
I think fundamentally, look at, GoToMeeting or Skype, right? Everyone said, Skype was going to cannibalize the in-person meeting. If anything, it's made in-person meetings that much more impactful, right? There's this kind of face-to-face component. You handshake a deal. You make something happen, right? You sell your company to the largest, owner or broker in the world or the country. I think a very similar thing is happening in the real estate industry, and I think to say that it's going to replace jobs, I think it's going to improve.
Facilitate some new jobs.
Workflow, absolutely.
Yeah. So we have to wrap up soon, but before we do, I'm just curious about, we talked about what you guys expect and what you see coming down the pipeline for tech and for business and all this stuff, but what is making you, I guess, excited or optimistic? I know that sometimes we can get into doom and gloom and thinking about how disruption is hurting things or hurting certain people, but what are you excited for in the future in this space?
One of the things that no one's really talked about is online real estate crowdfunding, which is the beginning of something much more powerful, which is basically the tokenization of real estate assets around the world. The ability, and this is the holy grail of real estate investing one day, through blockchain technologies and asset-backed cryptocurrencies, not Bitcoin, like I said, which has no backing, it's just demand-driven, is the ability to digitally securitize real estate assets into financial tradable instruments and create liquidity. Imagine one day going to a platform, opening an account like an E-Trader or Merrill Lynch. If you want to invest in real estate around the country, around the world, you can go in there, do a self-selection of asset classes and horizons through a robo-advisory capability, point, click, buy, and the next day rotate out of that position like a share of stock, point, click, sell, in a matching engine, Wall Street, NASDAQ matching engine capability. I think blockchain technologies and a lot of these fintech capabilities is over the next 10 years, I think it was a year and a half ago, I read an article, $2.5 billion is raised with online real estate crowdfunding sites. In the next decade, it'll be $250 million. You're going to see a tidal wave of money rotate to the web to invest in platforms. The problem is, in crowdfunding today, it's putting lipstick on a pig because it's still an analog deal with an LLC and papers and shit you got to invest in. You have no liquidity because I invest in Fundrise or early, whatever these different companies are. I wire my money in. They take my $10,000. If I want to get out, I got to wait 3 to 6, 8 months to liquidate out of it. I'm talking about wholesale liquidity of financial instruments and real estate assets around the world. That's what I think is going to be coming in the next 5 to 10 years through blockchain technologies and cryptocurrencies and fintech. So watch for that.
And that would allow also, we've seen here at Inman too, where I work, companies trying to make it so that you can subdivide. There's a company called Harbor that's so that you can tokenize the real estate and subdivide an apartment, even just one apartment, so that there's, however many owners possible.
Well, actually, you're right. Actually, One of my other ventures we're looking at is a company called World Property Exchange. I'm in the middle of this. That's why I know so much about it. WPE.com is our coming soon page for the World Property Exchange. We filed a patent with our Silicon Valley law firm, Wilson Sonsini, this past year. It's the world's first all-digital, blockchain-powered stock exchange, full-on broker-dealer licensed platform. And yes, you're going to see the ability to buy. We would have an investment committee look at a real estate asset class and markets and determine what are the best opportunities to buy them on a balance sheet, bring them in, put them into a special purpose LLC legal entity, issue shares against it in $1,000 par value. So we buy a single family rental home, buy it for $300,000 in Orlando, issue 300 shares, blockchain those shares into a thing called the SBS. You've heard of mortgage-backed security? This is synthetic-backed security. These are digital shares of $1,000 ownership of a house. Those shares will be put in a black box matching engine. You as the investor come on to the other side, open up an account, go to the black box matching it, and make a trade like a share of stock of Google in and out as you like, whether it be single family, multifamily. So it's a wholesale digital securitization of that.
Yeah.
And you can buy incremental, it's like micro IPOs of individual real estate assets. So you own $100 or $1,000 increments of properties. And for example, home ownership is at a near 60-year low. It's coming back better than it was a year or two ago. But there's a lot of millennials that are coming back in the market, but there are a lot are still living at home. A lot of people can't afford to buy a home yet because of either credit issues, the FICO scores, lack of job income, or the down payment. So, a platform like this, if you can't own a whole home and build wealth, because wealth is created by owning stuff, not renting stuff, here's a chance you can buy a piece of a home and make a nice 8, 9, 10, 12% return versus, letting your money sit dumbly in a CD earning 1%.
We got to wrap up here. Thank you guys so much. There was one question, though. Was that a question before we go?
The variability in improving the value of that property is much smaller versus the coupons of the world. They can create more.
Yeah, but you understand, foreign investors in real estate have a much different investment thesis than American investors seeking alpha, which is basically they want a high return quick. Foreign investors parking cash in real estate want two things: stability and safety. It's safe harbor, flight of capital from other countries. They want to park it. They'll be happy as pigs in crap, making 5-6% all day long with a nice yield of 3 or 4% cash flow on it, that they know they can get back the next day. So people park cash in real estate. Real estate's become its own new currency of choice in the world marketplace. $250 billion parked money in U.S. residential and commercial last year alone. And to help that marketplace park it into a liquid platform would be a big game-changing company.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, guys.